Shri Suman Berry, Vice Chairman Niti Aayog. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming Shri Suman Berry, Vice Chairman Niti Aayog. A big round of applause, please. Requesting Mr. Rajiv Memani, President Designate CII, to please come on stage. Also calling on stage Mr. Dilip Swani, Chair, Awards Jury for the CII National Best Practices Award on Future Ready Manufacturing, and Chairman CII National Committee on Smart Manufacturing, to please join on stage. A big round of applause for our esteemed speakers. Requesting Mr. Memani to please take ahead the session.
Good morning, good afternoon. Let me just start, since we're running late, let me just start by welcoming Mr. Suman Berry. As a lot of you know, he's one of the most distinguished economic leaders of the country. He has had stints with World Bank. He was Director General in NCAER. He was the Global Chief Economist of Shell. And now he's the Vice Chairman of NITI and also Chairman Economic Advisory Council of the Prime Minister. Thank you so much for coming. We're looking forward to your remarks. Before we hear from Mr. Suman Berry, I just thought we will give the context of today's session on building economic resilience. Friends, all of you know, I think Indian economy has been, since COVID, probably one of the fastest growing economies, if not the fastest growing economy, year on year, even this year, and also, at least the way it looks like today, in the foreseeable future. And it's not only about this growth of the economy, but it's also about the resilience in the economy that is really shining out very clearly. But we are in an environment where the global economy is seeing the kind of change that we don't see. I'm sure we'll hear more about that from Mr. Berry, but the whole thing around on tariffs, the entire scenario that we are seeing on how countries are looking at trade surpluses, trade deficits. It's particularly noteworthy for a country like India, where our trade deficit is largely with our East Asian neighbors, or our trade deficit is with countries where we are trading, from whom we are buying oil. So we are in a very uncertain global environment, and if India has to achieve its dream of Viksit Bharat and what we are looking at, obviously the first thing that India is doing and is trying very hard to do is to see how we are building the new global economic partnerships. We have concluded a bunch of FTAs. In particular, I would like to mention the FTA that we had done with UK. We all know there are ongoing discussions, very active discussions with EU. And also, there are lots of discussions with US, which I'm sure will probably be the most complex and also the most wide-ranging impact. And I think the impact on industry, when you are not very sure of what your tariffs are going to be, there is uncertainty, and business are generally not good friends. So I think that's one of the challenges that India has. But as we look at the Viksit Bharat frame, I think what's really important is how do we strengthen our domestic economy, and I think that's where we would love to hear from you. I think it's very clear that India needs the second generation or the next generation of reforms. They are not easy to do. A lot of them probably focused on ease of doing business, reducing cost factors of production, further opening up of our various sectoral economies. I think that's very, very critical, and I would say ease of doing business, facilitating business, probably the most critical. And the second thing I would particularly say, and as we saw in the plenary also, the importance of manufacturing and the strengthening of domestic economy. And I would say that's so critical for our success. And if we look at India today, we have a trade deficit of roughly $100 billion, which in GDP terms is almost 2.5% with China. And it's been pretty much $100 billion for the last 3 years. A lot of that the composition of that trade deficit has changed from finished goods to raw material. Our 12.5% to 13% is manufacturing as a percentage of our GDP. So there is growth in manufacturing. There's some great success stories, especially like electronics. There's a lot of thrust, a lot of policies, but still we are not seeing a significant shift. Or the needle not moving enough, or the opportunity that China Plus One has presented has not been fully captured. So how does India take this forward from a manufacturing standpoint? How does India look at next generation of reforms? How do we engage globally better and meaningfully? And I think we have been doing a great job there. I think I'll hand it over to you, Suman, and really great to hear your comments. Thank you.
Rajiv Memani, Chairman Designate of CII, Shri Dilip Soni, the Chairman of the Jury Award, of the awards that I've been asked to present following this session, friends in the audience, I am honored to have the opportunity to speak to you as part of the annual business summit. My association with the CII goes back 25 years when I returned from the World Bank to head NCR, DG NCR in 2001, and from 2001 till now, CII, I think, has been very much associated with looking ahead of integration with the global economy, Rajiv has indicated some of the issues at the moment, and I will refer to those in my prepared remarks. Let me note that the theme of the summit is building trust, while this special plenary is meant to focus on building economic resilience. Let me also say that it was clearly inspiring to be at the inaugural, to hear my colleague in the Council of Ministers, Shri Rajnath Singh, talk about, as it were, in the defense area, what has been achieved and the roadmap ahead in terms of manufacturing. My focus here will be, as it were, more drawn from my role at Niti Aayog as Vice Chairman, although, as was mentioned, I also currently hold the additional charge of Chair of the Economic Advisory Council. So let me just make a couple of points on economic resilience as we have seen it up to now. We are certainly in turbulent times, but I would argue that where economic resilience is concerned, India is something of a class act. And why do I say that? I say that because pretty much since we bit the bullet in 1991, a very different moment from where we are now. At that time we had our backs to the world, and now we are the fastest growing major economy. But as various economic historians have documented, there has been shock after shock. There was the collapse of the Soviet Union, which was perhaps the proximate cause of the 91 crisis. There was the global financial crisis, the Asian financial crisis. And the reality is that India has maintained a average growth rate of 6.5% for 30 years, the 30 years from the 91 liberalization to COVID. And that to me suggests that the roots of resilience in India are as much in our institutions as they are in our policies. And it's been a privilege for me as Vice Chairman of Niti Aayog, and particularly coming out of a meeting of our Governing Council last week, where I interact with the Chief Ministers of all states as Team India, to see that there really is a very well, functioning, if somewhat hidden, silent consensus and a machinery of decision making. So I would say that the deep institutional sources of resilience are in place, but we mustn't be complacent, because we need to up our game for all kinds of reasons. Now, I have chosen to shine a spotlight on a particular dimension of Viksit Bharat, which is the urgency of raising labor productivity. And I'm putting this on the agenda, or focusing on that, because this is very much an area where the private sector has an important role to play, and therefore a CII audience is the right forum. But let me start with what I don't think we should allow to become a tired slogan, which is Viksit Bharat at 2047. Just to remind you that this aspiration, this vision, was put forward by my boss, the Honorable Prime Minister, who, as you know, is the Chairman of Niti Aayog. I'm privileged to be the Vice Chairman. In his speech in 2022 from the Red Fort, where he articulated this as an aspiration for the society, and it was very deliberately positioned, because he talked of the 25 years that had led up to India's success at independence from 2022 to 2047. And he said in 2022, nobody would have thought that India would be a free nation by 2047. But through mass mobilization, a Jan Andolan, we succeeded. And so he is looking for a similar Jan Andolan to make us a Viksit Bharat. Now, what is Viksit Bharat? It's a developed society made possible by a high-income economy. And Niti, works on the high-income bit, and so does CII. But ultimately, his vision is for a developed society. And so why Viksit Bharat is to empower all citizens to realize their potential and fulfill their aspirations. And I think that's very important, that what we are aiming for is, as it were, success as a means to an end, rather than, and that end is the dignity of Indians. And finally, why now? To leverage our demographic dividend and to exploit technology, which will be reflected in the awards to be given later, and geopolitical churn. Now, the point I'm going to make, and it's only one point, and I may not, because we're running late, get through all the argument, is that for these goals, a sustained rise in the productivity of labor is crucial. And I want you to think of the next 5 years, the next 10 years, if not the next 25 years or 22 years, as really a horse race between two forces. An increase in labor productivity, which actually means that the same output, the same value added, can be produced by more skilled people, and the fact that we need to absorb additional hands. And that is the reason why we need to grow faster. So rising standards of living are achieved if we have rising productivity. Faster growth is if we can deploy more of our underutilized labor. There's relatively little open unemployment. Underutilized labor, particularly women and youth, in more productive activities. And I would say that we are currently, as it were, seeing certain what I might call pathologies, which, as it were, rising labor productivity leading to faster incomes, faster growth in real incomes, which is the only sustainable base of rising productivity. The fact that that has not been happening as fast as people's aspirations is what is leading to, as it were, this queuing for government jobs, etc. And what is really important is, as in not only in defense but across the board, that those better jobs be generated by the private sector. Just a little bit more about labor productivity. So labor productivity is measured as output per worker or per hour worked. And as I've already mentioned, it boosts income and living standards sustainably. Now, India, economists tend to measure labor productivity at purchasing power parity. There's been a lot in the newspapers about our being the fourth largest economy. Those are all measured at market prices, but the real way of measuring productivity is in real terms is purchasing power parity. And while we are 4 trillion in GDP at market prices. At PPP, we are 15 trillion. PPP is measuring the real size of our economy against the size of the US economy. And so while we are at $15 trillion, the United States is 29 trillion. So we are roughly half the real size of the US economy. But the important point is, and this is, as it were, a not well-established figure, but our labor force currently is approximately 3 times the productivity, the size of the US labor force. And so I'm not suggesting that we are aspiring to become like the United States, but if we are to generate better jobs and higher incomes, that is a measure of the journey that lies ahead of us. Just a few policy lessons from other countries. And I would say that the productivity challenge is different for emerging markets than from advanced countries. Those of you who read the financial press would know that the UK is concerned about stagnant productivity. Canada is concerned about stagnant productivity. India's track record has not been bad in terms of growth of productivity, but it needs to get better. Our problem is our low level, which I've already mentioned, not only with respect to the US, but also with respect to some of our peers, such as China and other peers in ASEAN, and certainly in the G20, our labor productivity is the lowest. So, in the interest of time, let me just give some sense of, as it were, what might be a reform agenda to raise labor productivity, what the low-hanging fruit are, what the role of the private sector is, and finally the role of both states and of Niti Aayog itself. So one can think of the productivity trajectory as really being in 2 parts. One is the shift across sectors. And as many of you know, 44% of our population is still in agriculture, and it stands to reason that if you can move labor from agriculture into services, high-value services, or manufacturing, that you will get 2 kinds of increases in productivity. You will get an increase in productivity in agriculture, but you will also get an increase in the productivity of the labor force that moves to manufacturing and services. So this, as it were, transition has been slower in India than certain of our peers, and it is certainly something that NITI is working on and that the government is very aware of. But I think equally important and more relevant for CII, although the present chairman or president of CII, Shri Sanjeev Puri, comes from ITC, which has done a lot to raise even agricultural productivity. But I think that the real challenge facing India is, as it were, to raise productivity in expanding modern sectors, both manufacturing and services. And let me just give you a few examples of what might be role models from around the world. So, industrialization was clearly the way in which China, Korea, Japan went about raising productivity. And let me refer to the comments of the Raksha Mantri earlier this morning, which is to say that each country has to work out for itself what its path will be. As the fourth largest economy in the world, we have global responsibilities and global opportunities. Equally, our competitiveness does depend on our having access to foreign investment, to the latest technology, and so quite how to reconcile Atmanirbharta and the development of local capacity with an opening to the world is more art than science, but what we know from what is happening in terms of FTAs, the Trump tariffs, we will need to reciprocate if we want access to external markets. And, I think Indian industry is now confident enough so that if it welcomed liberalization in 1991, it is certainly strong enough to welcome liberalization, judicious liberalization, in 2025 and in the coming decade. But let me just say that the story of China, Japan, and South Korea is one of measured liberalization with very different attitudes towards foreign investment. In particular, neither Japan nor Korea were particularly receptive to FDI in the way that China has been. But let me also say that there are different models. So Germany's SME sector or medium enterprise sector is called the Mittelstand. And if I was to reflect on the differences between, as it were, our success and that of China, I would say while in various ways through global capability centers, through manufacturing facilities, we do okay where the large multinationals are concerned, Maruti, of course, being a case in point, Kirloskar, Toyota, automotive in general. But where I think we could do a lot more is the integration of our medium enterprise sector, and NITI has just put out a report on the medium enterprise sector, and the MSME sector, the medium enterprise sectors of our like-minded partners, and I have put in mind here particularly Germany and the Mittelstand. And then the issue of workforce skills, adaptability, and training, I think we can look to the Nordics. So I think I've more or less used up my 15 minutes. Let me just, close with a checklist that Shri and I may wish to discuss briefly. So a checklist of how a focus on productivity leads to reforms other than what I've already talked about, which is exploiting the opportunities that the FTAs are going to produce, going to generate, and also, in a sense, diversifying our sources of supply so we are not too dependent on a particular supplier. And I think the issue is diversification more than it is bilateral trade surpluses, although President Trump has clearly been seized of that, and that is very much, as it were, in the news these days. So, diversify into high-value sectors, leverage global knowledge and innovate locally, reform markets and build skills, and the OECD has done very good work, including on India, about our restrictions in product and factor markets. And let me just say, this should not be only about manufacturing. It should be about a competitive service sector. And indeed, as you know, when it comes to service exports, India is much more of a leader than it is in manufacturing exports. Finally, Honorable PM at the Governing Council, which was, I think a great demonstration of the institutions that have helped India to get to where it is. The Governing Council is one such institution, and the overwhelming support for Operation Sindoor amongst all states was a sign of the solidarity of the nation. But the point that Honorable PM, made was that the central government can create the conditions through negotiation of FTAs, through, as it were, the negotiation of bilateral investment treaties, through, as it were, the review of quality control orders, but ultimately it is up to states to harness these opportunities. And of course, CII has very vibrant local chapters, and so I think we already work closely with CII, but making sure that all states, and not only the successful states of the South, that they become aware of the opportunities in tourism, in manufacturing, in utilizing the opportunities of the FTAs. I think there's a very large agenda ahead of us. And let me also say that NITI has been working with states on an urbanization agenda, and what we know from the experience of advanced economies is that the crucible of productivity at the advanced, at the leading edge, is the creativity of cities. And Prime Minister has been talking about India as a creative hub. So I think thinking about productivity across the spectrum, as is appropriate for the largest labor force in the world and the fourth largest economy in the world, this is now the next stage, and I anticipate that this session of CII's annual business summit will illuminate the agenda ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Suman, and thank you for really elaborating on the impact of labor productivity on our per capita income, on growth, and on achieving the vision of Viksit Bharat. Time permitting, we will probably have a few questions on some of these areas. I'll now request Dilip Sahani to brief on the National Best Practices Award on Future Ready Manufacturing. So over to you, Dilip.
Well, thank you so much, Rajiv. Distinguished Chief Guest, Shri Suman Berry, thanks for those, very insightful comments. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome all of you to the inaugural edition of the CII National Best Practices Awards for Future Ready Manufacturing. Today marks a significant milestone in our collective journey towards building a more resilient, more innovative, and a much more future-ready manufacturing sector here in India. With rapid technological advancements, evolving customer demands, ever-increasing global competition, and the very nature of what manufacturing means, it's being reshaped just as we speak. To thrive in this dynamic environment, organizations must go beyond incremental improvements. They must transform. They must embrace smart, nurture future-ready workforces, and build resilience and leverage digital technologies to unlock new efficiencies and create new values. Recognizing this very urgent imperative, CI has instituted this prestigious award to identify, to celebrate, and also to amplify exemplary efforts which are already being undertaken in the area of future-ready manufacturing and in the area of making India's manufacturing sector future-ready. Now, what sets this award apart from other CII recognitions is the very broad and the comprehensive nature of how these awards are being conceptualized. These are built around the conviction that future of manufacturing must be resilient, must be inclusive, sustainable, and must leverage the power of digital technologies. Now let me take a moment to elaborate a little on the unique rationale behind this award. 3-4 main criteria, that really got us to where we are as regards these awards. First and foremost, it's the human-centric nature of the innovations that we've set out to find, right? Unlike traditional recognitions that focus solely on efficiency or output, this award emphasizes on the human dimension equally, ensuring that workers are not just displaced, but they are actively empowered by technology and thus made future ready. It celebrates organizations that have not only adopted automation and AI, but have also upskilled their workforce to drive benefit and really to make these transformations much more material in the sense that they are creating organizational and national value. This human technology synergy is a key differentiator and a model for inclusive industrial growth. The other aspect I want to talk about is really the end-to-end nature of the analysis that we carried out. We view smart manufacturing not just as a collection of individual deployments of technology to solve specific problems. Instead, we set out to look at the manner in which organizations have looked at the end-to-end nature, and how they've envisaged the impact of technology to transform their organizations. We see this more in the form of a digital thread that transforms the end-to-end nature of the organization, right? So what it does is this holistic integration forms the backbone of future-ready operations and just ensures that it creates a platform for continued evolution and not just a one and done. Other aspect is the strategic use of emerging technologies. What these are, these are basically embedding things like AI, advanced analytics, into the very heart of the process of creating value through manufacturing, right? So you're taking technologies and you're really making them one with the way you go about creating value through a manufacturing organization, right? The other aspect was about scalable and sustainable excellence, right? As India looks to expand its manufacturing base while generating employment, this award has made an effort to shine a light on scalable practices that combine efficiency and job creation. It promotes models that improve productivity while ensuring the well-being and participation of the workforce. Key to building a resilient manufacturing future. These awards were open exclusively to CII member companies. What we did was we broke it up into two parts. So there are two categories, the first being medium and large scale enterprises, and the other category really is around small scale industry members. A very rigorous evaluation process was followed. It began with a very detailed application review by a panel of expert assessors, right? And it progressed through the stages of virtual presentations that were made by the participating organizations, right? There were, very, very structured, very thorough jury interactions with the shortlisted finalists. Now, as the chair of the jury, which I was very honored to be, I can confidently affirm that the process has been very transparent, benchmark driven, and following the highest standards of integrity, right? Every finalist here today, has demonstrated exceptional systems thinking. The very nature of the approach that we have taken it's not just adopting technology, for the sake of it, but technology as being the means to an end, the end really being unlocking enterprise value, right? Showcasing their ability to understand complex systems, develop holistic solutions, impactful project execution, and measurable business outcomes, which with quantifiable and tangible outcomes that the teams could talk about. Right. I want to take this moment to thank all the participating companies, for their commitment and also for their candor in sharing their journeys and the practices that they followed. Now, to each one of you, whether you stand here as a winner today or not, your contributions really have enriched India's collective manufacturing competitiveness. So thank you so much for that. In the coming days, we also look forward to a session where the award-winning companies will be invited to share their best practices. I think this is going to be really very important for us so that we can propagate these best practices that others can also get inspiration from. All right, so what I would like to do now is we put together a short film about the awards itself. So may I request the team to roll the film, please?
In a world racing against time, where ideas and innovation are the new progress drivers, manufacturing is all about evolution. It is about readiness. To move forward is not enough. An enterprise must be future ready. Elevating this thought is the inaugural edition of the CII National Best Practices Award on Future Ready Manufacturing 2025. An award that celebrates those who dare to reinvent, reimagine, and rebuild today for tomorrow. Recognizing excellence across industries, the application assessment was a pursuit of distinction, covering categories across CII members in large and medium enterprises and small-scale industries. A comprehensive review meticulously benchmarked to identify the future readiness. A vision for perfection that came alive under the stewardship of a distinguished jury and an expert assessor team. After rigorous evaluation, 3 organizations from the small-scale industry category emerged as the creators of change. The second runner-up in the small-scale category goes to Fronius India Private Limited, Pune, Maharashtra. At Fronius India, smart manufacturing is powered by cutting-edge innovations. Its Internet of Things enabled system delivers high-precision metal components with reduced waste, with Weld Cube ensuring real-time monitoring and predictive maintenance. By investing in workforce upskilling for robotic welding and data analytics, Fronius is also driving high-performance and sustainable production, built on Industry 4.0.
So may I request the team from Fronius India to please come up on the dais and receive their recognition.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our winners, please.
The award for the first runner-up in the category goes to Tamboli Castings Limited, Bhavnagar, Gujarat. Tamboli Castings Limited is shaping the future of precision manufacturing through smart automation, AI-driven systems, and Industry 4.0 best practices. With real-time analytics, robotics, and digitized supply chains, Tamboli delivers next-gen efficiency.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause, please.
Its upscaled workforce and collaborative robotics drive innovation, while sustainable practices underscore its commitment to responsible growth. At Tamboli, operational agility meets data-driven excellence, redefining global benchmarks. And the winner in the small scale category is Shri Services Private Limited, Gurgaon, Haryana. Today, Shri stands as a technology first, future ready EV charger manufacturer. Recognized for its speed, adaptability and innovation, it is setting new benchmarks in clean mobility infrastructure. At Shri, the mission is to power the electric mobility revolution, to reimagine manufacturing through the lens of agility, intelligence and sustainability.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our winners, please.
In the large and medium enterprises category, pioneering companies have emerged as true change makers. Ones who didn't just follow best practices, but defined them as well. The second runner-up in the large and medium category is Hindustan Unilever Limited, Puducherry. Hindustan Unilever is leading the change in digital transformation for operational excellence. From AI-powered quality inspections and predictive analytics to automated workflows and energy optimization, it integrates smart technologies to drive productivity, safety, and sustainability. With a robust upskilling strategy, blending tech partnerships and performance-linked digital training, it is exemplifying smart and sustainable growth in action. The first runner-up in the category goes to Larsen & Toubro Limited, Heavy Engineering Division, Surat, Gujarat. L&T Heavy Engineering is setting global benchmarks in smart manufacturing by turning volatility into opportunity. Through digitalization, agile supply chains, and tech-enabled solutions, it ensures operational resilience and on-time delivery across projects. Its 8-decade legacy of precision engineering and sustainability is matched by a relentless drive to innovate and deliver high-performance industrial excellence.
Okay.
And the winner in the large and medium category goes to TVS Motor Company Limited, Haritha, Hosur, Tamil Nadu. TVS Motor is reimagining mobility with purpose-driven innovation, digital-first operations, and a future-ready mindset. Guided by its Reimagine 2030 vision, TVS has embedded smart manufacturing practices across its value chain, from artificial intelligence and machine learning powered systems and digital twins to immersive virtual reality training and real-time analytics. A digitally equipped workforce and a zero-injury safety record underscores its transformation journey to lead the next era of sustainable mobility. This award is a tribute to every idea engineered for greatness, to every business idea that believes in excellence, paving the way for the future. Let's step on innovation to be future ready. Join the movement to shape the change.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. May I now request Mr. Rajiv Memani to please felicitate our chief guest of the day, Shri Suman Berry, Vice Chairman Niti Aayog. A heartfelt thank you to Shri Suman Berry for the thoughtful address. Your guidance reinforces the importance of strategic clarity as we strive to sustain India's growth trajectory in a shifting global landscape. Thank you very much, Mr. Berry. May I request Mr. Rajiv Memani to please felicitate Mr. Dilip Swani, Chair Awards Jury and Chairman CII National Committee on Smart Manufacturing. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our esteemed panelists today. Thank you very much for your presence. We now request all our guests to please step forward for a group photograph. Thank you. Thank you very much. May I request all the winners of today's awards to please step forward on the dais for a group photograph. Requesting all the winners to please come forward. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for all our winners of the CII National Best Practices Awards on Future Ready Manufacturing. Thank you everyone. Requesting everyone to please be seated as we move on to our next session with a quick changeover. Next session on being competitive, the policy imperatives for India. The session will be having a keynote address by Dr. V. Anantha Nageshwaran, Chief Economic Advisor to the Government of India. So requesting everyone to please be seated. Requesting all the delegates to please be seated as the CEA